Then share the broadcast. That is after you have liked the broadcast. Please like the broadcast. So we have discovered that the only way we could wriggle through this algorithm thinking, especially on YouTube, is for every viewer to prove that they are not bots or like robots. So by at least engaging with the video. So thank you so much to all of you who have made it a tradition to ensure that that first steps, read the caption, read the description, like the broadcast, share it to invite others. Thank you. So tonight, we are starting from where we left off last night, but with a sprinkle of a breaking in the midst. So Nigerians and those who have one or two things to do with Nigeria reacted differently when the president of the United States of America redesignated Nigeria, then proposed that if the government of Nigeria continued to pamper the terrorists in Nigeria, killing Christians, in quotes, Christian genocide, that the American government or American army will come in gun a-blazing after these terrorists. To many, Christians are not the only people being killed in Nigeria. And if Donald Trump really wants to help Nigeria, he should rephrase that, Christian genocide to actually going after terrorists. There were others who felt like somebody like me who felt like, does it really matter? The terrorists are killing Christians, they are killing Muslims, they are destroying their lives and all of that. So anyone that could actually get rid of them, well, would be my guess. But guess what? Or guess rather. So a lot of people said, no, that's act of naivety. America doesn't give anything for free. Or they are targeting your oil. They are, this conversation has sort of like been going on. Again, people were like giving examples of other interventions of America all over the world. Last night, the government of America carried out an operation that is no longer like news. Everybody is, again, reacting. So for some months, possibly years now, the government of America seem to have been accusing the Venezuelans, the Mexico government and all this of harboring drug dealers, cartels, who are behind the smuggling or flooding of the United States of America with different kind of poisons, drugs. And in the last couple of months, we have seen the report of American government, right, kind of like nuking some boats alleged to be, the boats used by drug smugglers. Now, this was going on, but really kind of, there's something that happened last night, again, that was supposed to probably have triggered maybe a civil war, kind of, now happened. And what was that? The US government carried out an operation to arrest the president of Venezuela inside the presidential palace, I believe, inside his own capital, in his own country. In the past, we have had dictators, when America turned against them, and then they are sort of like banned and restricted to their countries. Most of them never leave their countries, except when they finally lose power and they lose their lives. But I have actually not really witnessed a president of a country being arrested in his own country, and just like that. That's what happened last night. How did it happen? Well, let's start with the announcement made by the president of America himself, Donald Trump, earlier today, which was initially like, is this even like happening? The media, who probably got the hint of the operation, right, spoke with the supposed vice president of the country, asking what's the latest, what's the situation, and she said, it is better the media ask Donald Trump, where is Maduro, Nicolas Maduro, right? And that's supposedly supposed to be the leader. So eventually Donald Trump said they were on their way to America because he's been, arrested, and how that happened. Let's get into that before we will begin to address some of the supposed reactions and how this has again triggered some of the Nigerians who are opposed to the Americans' plan of striking terrorists in Nigeria. what does that mean in true context when America operates this way, right? We're going to get to that. But let's hear what they have to tell us how this whole thing happened and why. Watch this.
And early today, at my direction, the United States Armed Forces conducted an extraordinary military operation in the capital of Venezuela. Overwhelming American military power, air, land, and sea, was used to launch a spectacular assault. And it was an assault like people have not seen since World War II. It was a force against a heavily fortified military fortress in the heart of Caracas to bring outlaw dictator Nicolas Maduro to justice. This was one of the most stunning, effective, and powerful displays of American military might and competence in American history. And if you think about it, we've done some other good ones like the attack on Soleimani, the attack on al-Baghdadi, and the illegitimate dictator Maduro was the kingpin of a vast criminal network responsible for trafficking colossal amounts of deadly and illicit drugs into the United States. As alleged in the indictment, he personally oversaw the vicious cartel known as Cartel de las Solas, which flooded our nation with lethal poison, responsible for the deaths of countless Americans, the many, many Americans. Hundreds of thousands over the years of Americans died because of him. Maduro and his wife will soon face the full might of American justice and stand trial on American soil. I want to thank the men and women of our military who achieved such an extraordinary success overnight with breathtaking speed, power, precision, and competence. You rarely see anything like it. You've seen some raids in this country that didn't go so well. They were an embarrassment. If you look back to Afghanistan or if you look back to the Jimmy Carter days, they were different days. We're a respected country again, like never before. These highly trained warriors operating in collaboration with U.S. law enforcement caught them in a very ready position. They were waiting for us. They knew we had many ships out in the sea, just sort of waiting. They knew we were coming. So they were in a ready, what's called a ready position. But they were completely overwhelmed and very quickly incapacitated. If you would have seen what I saw last night, you would have been very impressed. I'm not sure that you'll ever get to see it, but it was an incredible thing to see. Not a single American service member was killed, and not a single piece of American equipment was lost. We had many helicopters, many planes, many people involved in that fight. But think of that, not one piece of military equipment was lost, not one service member was, more importantly, killed. In
the aftermath of this operation. So just what your message is about that.
He has cocaine mills. He has factories where he makes cocaine. And, yeah, I think I stick by my first statement. He's making cocaine. They're sending it into the United States. So he does have to watch his hands.
Mr. President.
So now let's take a breather and digest the few parts you have listened to. And how does this concern Nigeria? Presently, the intel that Donald Trump seems to be acting on when it comes to the terrorism in Nigeria is that one phrased as Christian genocide. Okay? Maduro is accused of being the leader of the drug cartel, which means he gave protection to cartels in Venezuela. That's the accusation, the allegation against him. And if you put it beside that of Nigeria, currently the man who is the president of Nigeria, okay, have the record that he's done his best to ensure that it remained unsealed. I'm sorry, it remained sealed, okay? enough that he said if the content of his record in America is made public, it is going to cause an irreparable destruction to him and to many other people. So there are those who believe that Tinubu's record with the America or with the American government, which some believe is partly also being used to blackmail Nigeria in some aspect, but that's not the point yet, right? So he's got this record of heroin trafficking, okay, and being the bankers for the heroin dealers at the time, where many of his colleagues actually went to jail. So he's the president of Nigeria right now. And Nigeria, Guinea, or Equatorial Guinea, they are countries that have been pegged as the drug hub, coming from this part of like this Venezuela, Brazil, and all that. Then from Nigeria, they just move straight to either America and Europe. Can you believe that? So there is this, but America is not actually acting on that with Nigeria yet. What do you call it? The contact between America and Nigeria when it comes to if America would, which they've actually done, right? Firing their own rockets or sending their soldiers into into any part of like Nigeria. So it's that of the terrorists killing people in Nigeria. And from what we have right now, right? Nigeria's situation is not up to the level of that of Venezuela. So we are not saying maybe they are coming in to come and take Tinubu and all that too. But just the potential and why they are doing this, why they have to go into the country, right, to take their president. So for a while, American government has kind of refused to recognize Maduro as a legitimate president of Venezuela. He's somebody that is considered a dictator enough that many people who actually opposed him either gone missing or they get killed or jailed. Meanwhile, he's got his own base too, whose own belief is that America's imperialism will not be allowed in Venezuela. So all America needed was just to say the amount of drugs that you have allowed to come through your country, right, into America is enough a threat to America. So why is America interested in the killings of Christians in Nigeria? Again, they believed that Nigeria is becoming, if it hasn't become already, Nigeria is becoming the breeding ground, a breeding ground where the terrorists from all over the world, right, are finding sort of like finding it as a home. And if they are allowed to settle well in Nigeria, apart from them killing Nigerians that we are witnessing, right? So America believed that once they're able to actually comfortably gathered and the government around the areas are unable to get rid of them, they can plot an attack on America. That's their own foreign policy. So therefore, anywhere group of terrorists gathered, the America identified them as terrorists, right? They will be there, kind of. So for Maduro, it's about drug and war on drug. If you have been probably following the news, okay, like I said, in the past few months, we've had several boats like blown into pieces, including the occupants, where some section of American media believed that what if they were fishermen? Instead of like bringing them in, why are you using the kind of like execution style that they are never tried for? And Trump was like, no, they are horrible and all of that, okay? So Maduro himself has been kind of like, blazing hot. Every given opportunity, you will hear him like firing back at America. At a point, he actually told Trump to come and get him. I am here, you coward, come and get me. So last night, when they all gathered in the usual American situation room, there were numbers of, they have these submarines, they have some, what do you call it? Military carriers and all of that stuff, They had all these choppers and all that, all sent into the capital of Venezuela, while Trump, XF, Marco Rubio, and so many others, right, including the chairman of the service chiefs, I believe, in America, and that is, they call him General Dan Kane. So they were in this situation room. So I'm not going to really show you all these shootings because they were actual shootings. Let me tell you what Maduro did when he sensed that America would likely come for him. At a point, he believed that America would either kind of like assassinate him, or they would try to topple his government. So because of that, you know what he did in this, the capital? Apart from the fact that allowing all these gangs, because they do exist, okay, very, very deadly gangs, right, in Venezuela, in Mexico, and all these places. So Maduro actually allowed them to arm themselves to kind of like a military-graded, military-grade weapons, right? So Maduro protected himself in the capital so much that he also rolled out guns, like weapons, different kind of weapons, and gave them to civilians. And they were actually like practicing, training some of them to defend Venezuela. So what happened last night was that America flew into what you can say the most fortified sort of like place on earth. Apart from those dedicated military and all of that were to protect him, there were also civilians who are willing and ready to defend what they call the socialism, okay, and reject America's imperialism. Because to them, their economy that has become so ruined to what it is right now is not just about corruption. It's because of the sanctions, mostly from America, and they believe that America was actually targeting their oil. A lot of that, okay? So how did they manage to get in there? Somebody described it. It is that General Dan Kane, all right? So if you don't mind.
This operation, known as Operation Absolute Resolve, was discreet, precise, and conducted during the darkest hours of January 2nd, and was the culmination of months of planning and rehearsal. We watched, we waited, we prepared, we remained patient and professional. This mission was meticulously planned, drawing lessons from decades of missions over the last many years, many missions over these last many years. This was an audacious operation that only the United States could do. It required the utmost of precision and integration within our joint force. And the word integration does not explain the sheer complexity of such a mission. An extraction so precise it involved more than 150 aircraft launching across the Western Hemisphere in close coordination, all coming together in time and place to layer effects for a single purpose: to get an interdiction force into downtown Caracas while maintaining the element of tactical surprise. Failure of one component of this well-oiled machine would have endangered the entire mission, and failure is never an option for America's joint force. Those in the air over Caracas last night were willing to give their lives for those on the ground and in the helicopters. Let me talk a little bit about the preparation. After months of work by our intelligence teammates to find Maduro and understand how he moved, where he lived, where he traveled, what he ate, what he wore, what were his pets, in early December, our force was set pending a series of aligned events. Key was choosing the right day to minimize the potential for civilian harm and maximize the element of surprise, and minimize the harm to the indicted personnel so, as the president said, they could be brought to justice. And as the president said earlier today, weather in Venezuela is always a factor this time of the year. And over the weeks through Christmas and New Year's, the men and women of the United States military sat ready, patiently waiting for the right triggers to be met and the president to order us into action. Last night, the weather broke just enough, clearing a path that only the most skilled aviators in the world could maneuver through. Ocean, mountain, low cloud ceilings. But when tasked with a mission, this organization does not quit. At 10:46 p.m. Eastern Time last night, the president ordered the United States military to move forward with this mission. He said to us, and we appreciate it, Mr. President, good luck and Godspeed. And those words were transmitted to the entire joint force. Over the course of the night, aircraft began launching from 20 different bases on land and sea across the Western Hemisphere. In total, more than 150 aircraft, bombers, fighters, intelligence, reconnaissance, surveillance, rotary wing were in the air last night. Thousands and thousands of hours of experience were airborne. Our youngest crew member was 20, and our oldest crew member was 49, and there's simply no match for American military might. As the night began, the helicopters took off with the extraction force, which included law enforcement officers, and began their flight into Venezuela at 100 feet above the water. As they approached Venezuelan shores, the United States began layering different effects provided by Spacecom, Cybercom, and other members of the interagency to create a pathway.